what I wish I knew about health, fitness, and weight loss. What I mean by that is what I wish I knew about health, fitness, and weight loss when I was younger. It would save me a lot of trouble. I'm going to help you right now. This is actually chapter 7 in the book. It's called Weight Loss, Lifestyle Changes That Last. But I'm going to share with you the lifestyle changes that last. And I want to change the title for Audible here just so I can make that clear to people. This is actually going to was the bonus section I was going to include in the book, but I'm just going to make it chapter 7 and share it with friends and family. Once you know these, there's about 35 things. I'm going to go quickly. This will help really set you on the right path. So I'm not going to get into details on all of them because I do that in the book. Or some of the book, but it's important for you to know these things. Number one, what's more important than adding certain things, right? We talk about, should I take this supplement? Should I take this, should I eat, let me eat some beets because I heard those were good for you. Let me go get this type of mushroom. I heard those are good for you. And all those things are great. But what's more important than adding things like that is withdrawing certain things, removing things from your diet that are not good, not God-given, produced in a factory. That's more important because I get this question a lot. What supplement should I be taking? Well, it depends. Are you going to change your diet and really eat? Because we have to remember many supplements come from good God-given food, especially the phytochemicals, the vitamins, the minerals, the nutrients. All of those come from good God-given food. And then you can get into an array of supplements, which I'm not going to cover in this book because it would actually take another book. Everything from creatine to L-glutamine to, all the vitamin D, vitamin K. Should I take this type of supplement, NAC, NAC? How do I increase NAD? There's a good supplement for that. What about, these types of supplements that are derived from broccoli? These derived from omega-3, omega-6, fatty acid. What about this? I mean, it's just, you'd really need an expert to go through those types of things. But I'm open to taking some supplements, but the key is to really remove things and not worry as much about adding things. Add those after you start to remove things. And then also number 2, so important. Guys, weight loss and health and fitness is a process. You're not going to see results the next day. Sometimes the first week is hard because you're detoxing, you don't feel that great. But then as you keep plowing through, it's a biblical principle, in all labor, there is profit. It's a process. You just keep moving forward and hey, I can't see anything on the outside, but that things are changing on the inside, especially mentally as well. Number 3, plants do give life. Plants give life. They are not trying to kill you. This is getting ridiculous. People out there saying that. For example, even the children of Israel who were in the wilderness those 38 years or so, they ate what was considered a plant food. They only gave them the meat when they were craving it. Genesis, Ezekiel 47, Revelation 22, all talk about the leaves that give healing to the nation, or there's that we are created to live off plants. But again, I'm not against other diets adding in. I definitely eat some clean meat and dairy and things like that. But plants need to be the main focus. Here's what happens. Let's say, for example, okay, I'm going to have some eggs and a piece of Ezekiel bread. Okay, good. But if I didn't get any plants in there, these meals, this protein took the place of that. Okay, now let's say at lunch I'm going to have, a big chicken breast and some brown rice. Okay, great. But that just took the place of a huge salad, colorful salad with cucumbers, tomatoes, spinach, kale, all kinds of things that are great for the body. So my concern is that we're using all these other things and not getting in enough plant food. And then number 4, there are pitfalls and pluses to all the different diets out there. I just watched a video yesterday of a guy in phenomenal shape who just eats fruit. That's got some pitfalls, but it worked for him. Others, we know that are eating mainly carnivore. I think it's called fruitarians that eat just fruit. And then you got the raw crowd, carnivore. Some people have some amazing results on carnivore. And I would say they do because you're going into a ketogenic state. Your body's, using that protein and you're probably going to retain some muscle. And then you're also going to lose some weight because your body's going to begin burning fat as fuel as long as your calories don't exceed what your body needs. So, but then there's some minuses to that too, some pitfalls. Long term with, And again, you can research all this if you want, but for me, it'd be everything from the fiber to the phytochemicals in the plants and fruits to, uric acid, can really increase with high proteins. Even OMAD, it's popular, 1 meal a day. Some great positives, but it's really hard to get all the nutrients in that one meal. So you're going to have to remember that. There's pitfalls and pluses. Figure out what you need to do, take it to the Lord, and then just see it through and change things around. I would change things around. I wouldn't be a carnivore forever. I wouldn't be a keto forever. I would make diversity part of my plan. And then number 5, I borrowed this from a pastor named Steve Shell. When it comes to compromising, we must see the death in it. And that really changes things. He gave the example of going to his refrigerator. There's an ice cold cake from Cold Stones. And man, he can't wait to have it. He hasn't eaten all day. And then on it says, oh, by the way, this has rat poisoning in it. Well, his appetite for that is over. He'll shut the door and will not eat any cake. Why? Because he saw the death in it. And that, we don't want to get that extreme, but maybe some of us do, but we need to take extreme measures. Obesity is skyrocketing. We're seeing obesity in children. We're seeing type 2 diabetes at an alarming rate. Our healthcare system can't afford this. We're gonna live the last decade of our life in a nursing home. And we need to take some extreme measures. So we need to see the death in the compromise and make the necessary changes. Number 6, it is a hard balance to find when it comes to muscle. Okay. This is an important point because I struggle with it too. Let's just say, I don't know what, let's say I have 160 pounds of what they call lean mass, weigh 212 or so. Okay, that's great. I want to hold on to that. But as I get older, I don't mind losing a little bit of that along with fat. And let's say I'm, down 25 pounds, functionality now, I can hop in and out of my vehicle better. I can play with the kids. I can go jogging. I'm much better and more productive in regard to functionality than I am had I had 20 pounds more of muscle. Now, as we get older, lean mass is important, but you got to decide, I don't know if I'd want to weigh 210, as I get older, because it does there's a price to pay on our joints and everything else. Number 7, eat what the body needs, not what it wants. There's lots of Bible verses. I love the one in Proverbs. If you find honey, then just eat is what you need. If not, you'll vomit it out if you eat too much. Every man gathered according to his own need in the book of Exodus, again, regarding the manna and possibly the quail. Then the next point here, I don't know what number we're on. I'm not going to worry about the numbers. Too focused on health and fitness. It can begin to rule your life. Like if you watch interviews with, those who are in the CrossFit games, Olympic athlete, whatever it is, it becomes their all-consuming passion. Now, there's a difference between obsession and passion. It's a passion of mine, of many of you, but you have to also be relatable and be able to live your life. But it's hard to say, I need to go to the gym twice a day. I only need to eat this amount. We're not going to birthday parties. We're not going to functions. We're not going to potlucks. I don't want people over. And we can live a very narrow life. So we have to be careful of that. You don't want to be too focused. You don't want this to be out of balance and then throw out of balance your relationship with the Lord, your relationship with others, and with your family. Next point, fat is not bad. If you think about it, protein and fat go together. Anytime you're eating a protein, you're eating a fat. Eggs, sirloin, chicken. That's how God designed it. And then next point, lipogenesis. Fat turns into fat as well. Yes, fat will turn into fat as well. There's lots of people that suggest protein will also be stored if that is taken in abundance. I think why carnivore works is people are not taking in over the recommended caloric actually the people are not eating more than their body needs. They're still staying and creating a deficit. Next point, insulin. We hear about insulin, and we have to be careful about it. But insulin, like cholesterol, is good. It's a God-given hormone. It also increases muscle. You need it to do a lot of things in the body. The key is we have to regulate it and not eat so many foods that are going to spike that. And again, if you need more help, my book, What Works When Diets Don't, although it's available all over, What Works When Diets Don't, you can download it for free at the church website if you need to get more specific on this, westsidechristianfellowship.org, westsidechristianfellowship.org. And then the next point, low carb or not, low carbohydrates, extra calories are the reason for weight gain. So I know a lot of people on keto that are not losing the weight they thought. I also did plant-based for a while, and I'm like, I'm gaining weight. What is going on here? Well, too many calories, primarily nuts. You can actually go all plant-based and actually lose weight. Joel Fuhrman has a great resources on this in his book. So does is it T. Colin Campbell? I don't know if I pronounced that right. Or Esselson. And they'll show, you can just eat huge salad and some beans, and it's really, really hard to gain weight on eating high nutrient dense foods that are low in calories. That actually might be a great option for some of you guys. Just tons of food that is high nutrients and low in calories, and you'll be satisfied and you'll lose weight. Next point. The people with the highest LDL often live longer. So they did, reports with those, what they call it, centenarians, and they have high levels of cholesterol. They have high levels of LDL. Now, we have to be careful, of course, but sometimes we freak out. We say, LDL, low density lipoproteins. Oh no, it's the bad guy. Actually, low density lipoproteins bring the cholesterol to the artery to heal it, and the high density take it from the arteries to the liver to be broken down. So we actually need it. It's a very good thing. So they're on the scene of the crime. They're healing the patients, but they get blamed for the crime. Why aren't we blaming processed food and junk food and obesity? I think it has to do with too, if you're carrying around an extra 30 pounds, you're carrying around an extra 30 miles. Yes, you heard this correctly. Extra 30 miles of blood vessels. So I think that's a problem too. Next point, a lot of the research we look at and people look at and they make these great claims. For example, I should have researched his name, but he wrote a book on whole plant foods. I don't want to say his name wrong. But he talked about rat studies and how increasing casein, which is milk protein, and 20% milk protein resulted in cancer, and they could shut off and turn on cancer. And I don't have a doubt on that necessarily. But again, I go from a creation perspective. God gave us raw milk and dairy and curds. Granted, the people moved a lot and they were thin. I think we might be onto something here. So see, that's why it's so tricky. Is meat and dairy, that's okay. And people say, yes. Well, if you're overweight and sedentary, I'd be very careful. If somebody's diagnosed with cancer, I would get them off of meat and dairy products, mainly for the mTOR, mammalian target of rapamycin, that is a growth element in the cell, along with insulin growth factor 1. They all increase the proliferation and growth of cancer cells. So, I would probably back off of that. But my point was, they always say rat studies, or mice, or whatever it is. Well, the DNA of a rat is a lot different than the DNA of a human. Well, there's similarities because we're designed, but the rats probably shouldn't drink cow's milk, right? But in the Bible, it gives us that latitude. So just be careful of rat studies and drawing certain conclusions. There's so much variables that go into these types of things. And the next point here, it's either point 15 or 16. There's zero evidence from what I can really find, other than what I mentioned just before in that guy's book about rat studies. They say high protein diminishes longevity. High protein diminishes longevity, but you can look at correlated evidence even from Walter Longo here down by me at USC. One of his studies said that there's a greater need for protein, more protein, even after 65. You can study Weston Price. He was a dentist, but he studied a lot of different people groups, even those who ate high protein and their teeth were in great shape. They were lean, their skin, they lived very long. But again, I think we're making a connection here. They were slender. They moved a lot. And then the next point, be careful that short-term fluctuations don't lead to long-term decisions. Okay. For example, an insulin spike. Those people that wear their monitors and they're like, oh, I got an insulin spike, got an insulin spike, got an insulin spike. Or, I'm fasting and I didn't lose any weight yesterday. Oh, it must not be working. No, don't let short-term fluctuations, they're normal. Don't let them lead you to long-term decisions, meaning you're going to make a long-term decision based on a short-term fluctuation. I wish I would have known that early on. And the next point, try not to freak out on things that are sometimes out of your control. We just got to rest in the Lord. We can't get too, caught up in all these different things. I mean, there's chemicals in my mattress if I didn't buy an organic type of mattress, and in my sheets and in my pillows, and if I just have my carpet cleaned. And oh, by the way, I had some root canals years ago. Oh man, I better get those teeth pulled next week. Now, in some cases, you might need to if there's inflammation and things. That could be linked to quite a few things. But not everyone can spend the money, and got to trust in God. And so I try not to freak out. Is there seed oils in that? I went out to eat. It's just having a balanced approach, making as many right choices as you can. And yeah, I'm probably, going to open the windows when I paint. I'll probably ask the carpet, cleaning company, do they have any organic products? Not this tons of chemicals, because when I walk into certain things, I get a headache from it. And I can tell this is not good for me. So yeah, make some changes, but just don't be out of control. There are some people out of control. You know who you are. You need to get back to the middle here. Looking up, there's chemtrails. I better not go out today. The car wash guy sprayed smelling some stuff in my car so it smells good, and I'm not going to go sit in my car for a week. And but some people, you want to be careful. I don't go to air fresheners are not good. The stuff they use, the air fresheners, the fake candles, got to be very careful. So just don't freak out on things like that. Just try to have a good balanced approach. The next point, be careful when you follow others, because we hear their advice. I've went down this road. Man, I hear their advice. They're my age. Look at how they look. I'm going to do exactly what they do. Well, you don't know if they're taking TRT and a lot of different peptides. Oh, they're injecting, ipamorelin or tesamorelin. They're taking 5-amino-1-MQ and BPC 157 for recovery. And they're also going to their doctor and getting testosterone cypionate injections. And no wonder they look like that. So you gotta be careful. Try to balance your advice. Don't listen to too many voices. Try to spend time in God's word, praying and see what he has for you. Because as you're pursuing this, I want to look like that person. God might say, hey, you know what? You're too caught up in this. You need to get back to the center here. Maybe that's why he keeps some of us, allows us to be a little bit out of shape, so we don't take too much pride in that. The next point, be open and teachable. Please be open and teachable. So much has changed. The guys who were saying certain things 25 years ago, you got to eat every 2.5 hours. Oh man, so much is changing. We know that's not true anymore. The tribalism has to stop. All this, these carnivores rebuking the ketos, and these people saying, plants are trying to kill you. Give me a break. Look at creation. We can't keep, beating each other up over these issues. Next point, protein synthesis for muscle occurs with protein intake. Okay. The only way you're going to get your muscles to grow and respond is by taking protein in. And what happens is when the synthesis in the muscle, in other words, you're getting enough protein, when that exceeds the breakdown of the muscle, because it does break down through exertion, through, again, gluconeogenesis. When that intake of protein, the exercising, when that exceeds the breakdown, that's basically how you grow muscle. And the best time to grow muscle is when you sleep, getting a deep resting sleep. That's why I recommend another point here, not eating a few hours before you go to bed. Just have some water by your bed if you need to. If you get hungry like I do, just go to sleep. Get a deep sleep, no caffeine later in the day, or maybe at all for some of you. You want a really good sleep. Try fasting and getting off caffeine, and you'll sleep like a baby. I miss those days. The next point, problems. Most of our problems are from or I should say some, not all of them, because I'd say most of them are from consumption of bad things. But a lot of us, we have problems because we're over consuming even the good things, right? I mean, everything you look at, I'm not going to go down the list, but too much honey, for example, too much fruit, too much carbs. So over consuming even good things. Well, Pastor Shane said this carbohydrate, the sweet potato, God made it. Well, don't have 5 of them, throughout the course of the day, unless that's all you eat and you're slender and you know what you're doing. The next point here is so important. Sitting is the new smoking. I don't know if you knew that or not, but sitting is the new smoking. Wow. Get up and move. Active. Now that I've got, on my phone or watch, 10,000 steps, you realize, boy, it's harder than I thought, but it can be done. You'll feel a lot better, and it'll definitely lead to your health and fitness goals. The next point, it's actually probably the number 1 point. I just didn't put it at the top. Your spiritual health is number 1. Spiritual health is number 1. Seeking God, praying, repenting, broken, humble, and then from that foundation is how we build our health and fitness program. It needs to come from that. But my other concern is people, number 1 concern, people not putting it first. My other concern is people bypassing their physical health. They don't care. Well, it's just, I've had a lot of people tell me, well, Shane, it's just the body. The body's going to perish, but spiritually we're not. Bodily exercise profits a little, but it does profit. Okay, come on, guys. And just think about, if I'm carrying around 50 extra pounds, the weight, the energy, the effectiveness, just not being a good testimony. Paul said, I discipline my body, I bring it under subjection, lest when I preach to others, I will become disqualified if I don't practice what I preach. So we have to be careful of that. Our spiritual health is number 1, but we have to care for our body and take care of it. It's the only body we have, and how we live and take care of it, it really, really affects our life. The next point, I think I already talked about this, but it's good to reiterate. Make sure health and fitness does not become an obsession. Obsession, when you're obsessed about something, you'll park somewhere and wait for someone for hours, right? You'll do these extreme crazy things that aren't healthy. That's not good. That's an obsession. But a passion really sets things in motion, and make sure health and fitness is not an addiction, but it is a overwhelming desire of something you want to do and want to change. Then the next point, right around point number 26, 27, somewhere down there, fasting. We don't fast because it's popular. We fast because it's biblical and it's powerful. But with fasting, we can get way too carried away. I'm seeing that a lot with people, and I've been there, myself. I try to find that balance, because we see what all these people are doing. The word fasting is everywhere. I follow fasting experts, as do many of you. It's fasting this, fasting that, this type of fasting. Most of the time when people are talking about fasting, though, they're talking about intermittent fasting. 16-hour window where you don't eat, things like that, 20-hour window, intermittent fasting. And you got to take it to the Lord. You have to use wisdom. You got to talk to your doctor. But fasting should be incorporated. And I wish I knew that 25 years ago. I wish I even knew that. Well, I started learning more about that about 10 years ago. I'd read it in the Bible, but thought, well, that's not for us today. And then the next point here, don't believe the lie. Don't believe the lie that you are helpless. They're starting to call obesity a disease, like alcoholism. It's not a disease. It is fueled by the choices we make. By the way, if you do need help with alcohol or any other addiction, Help I'm Addicted, Help I'm Addicted is another book I have available as a free download at the church website, westsidechristianfellowship.org. But don't believe that lie. And just as I was working on this book, a new UCLA medical school mandatory health equity class teaches students that weight loss is a hopeless endeavor. These people drive me nuts. Nuts. Equity. No. Wow. So anyway, enough said on that one. Another point here that's so important, we have to look through the lens of creation. Everything from plants to having enough protein, what types of food should I eat? Just read the Bible. You see, oh, wow. And you'll get cues, you'll get direction. People ask, what about, cold water therapy, red light therapy, hydrogenating, I think that's okay. My water, all kinds of things. You can try some of those things if you want. I think there's some benefit. Cold water therapy, for example. I mean, I think we're created to be exposed to certain elements, and the effect it has on the body can be really good. And then the next point, well, the point to that was look at everything that you do through the lens of creation. How did God create you? Then another point, which I wish I would have known earlier on, is the cost of food, let's say calories, is like a bank account. Think of it that way. If you're withdrawing more money than you're depositing, you'll lose. In that case, you'll lose money, but in this case, you lose weight. So your calories, you've got to be withdrawing exercise, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. You're kind of moving more, and then also, you're just being more active and you're monitoring your calories so you don't eat as much as you thought. I mean, I just ate some nuts yesterday and I didn't realize once I had half the bag, I turned it over. It said 9 servings at 170 calories per serving. I'm like, I just had 600 calories in nuts, yesterday. I'm going to have to go on a long walk now. But that's just, it's a bank account. So now you've got to be aware of that. And the next point here, you must differentiate what's going to work for you. Okay. I think I kind of elaborated on this, but it's another good point. What's going to work for you? Okay. So you might want to do keto or carnivore for a short time or all plant. What works for you? Don't get caught up on the opinions of others as you're seeking God. What can you stick with? I think that's the main point here. I didn't elaborate on my notes, so I wasn't sure. What can you stick with? Because that's what's important. Okay. I can do this. For example, I'd like to fast in the morning and have some green tea. But green tea makes me sick on an empty stomach. It's like, have you ever taken vitamins and stuff on an empty stomach? You just feel fluish for like a half hour. And I'm like, man, I can't do this. So now I'll have let's say some Ezekiel bread dipped in a couple, clean eggs and then on the grill. So it becomes a French toast, about 250 calories. And I can enjoy that, take a while to eat it, an hour or two in the morning with some green tea and not get sick. So as much as I like to fast in the morning, I can't do that. Or have some decaf coffee mixed with some cream, heavy organic whipping cream, even raw, and then some maybe 50 calories of collagen, chocolate collagen. That's really good too. So, and then the next point, lack of sleep plays a huge role in how you feel and weight loss and testosterone production, all these different things. We hear, yeah, I hear about sleep, but it actually affects a lot of things. So it's not just a good sleep, but your testosterone level, your body's ability to assimilate and burn extra calories. And it's just so important because that is what the body needs and what many are missing. So make sure you get that sleep. Okay, let's talk about the next point here quickly. We're almost to the end. You need to be the greatest expert for yourself. Okay, that kind of ties into what I just said, but thought it'd be worth saying. It sounded good. You need to be the greatest expert for yourself. What works for you? Do your due diligence. And for your kids, get the junk out of the pantry and in the refrigerator. Just have them be able to choose good God-given food. Yeah, it takes a little while, for sure, but you need to be the greatest example and expert for your family. You need to lead the way. Next point here. Believe it or not, okay, this is interesting. Believe it or not, a slow metabolism actually leads to longevity. Lots of studies on this, fast metabolism. Actually in animals, or they did some studies even on worms, mice. I know we can't always use those studies, but it is good. The faster metabolism, it's almost, to me, it gives a picture of like a race car. Those, like NASCAR or drag racing, those cars don't last a long time. Those engines have to be rebuilt, quite often. And so the same thing in our body. So don't beat yourself up about a slow metabolism. It actually leads to longevity. It's actually healthier for the metabolism to be slow and burning consistently. What we have to do then is biohack and figure out how we can, have a kind of a slow metabolism. What do I need to do in order to still make that work? Again, everything I've been talking about with watching the caloric intake, increasing intensity of the exercising more, moving more, more whole God-given foods, maybe for a time cutting out a lot of the complex carbs and doing, what you think is best for you. So those are the points. I think there's about 35 of them or so. What I wish I knew about health and fitness and weight loss when I was younger.